Good afternoon, YouTube. This is Casey here. I am sitting here in my driveway with my 96 Honda Goldwing. It's a GL 1500 SE or Special Edition. And I have searched the internet high and low trying to find a video of someone changing the fork oil on one of these bikes. I have found people that have changed changed over 2 progressive springs on the front end. I found videos about changing the fork seals, doing brakes, all kinds of things of that nature, but nothing on actually doing the oil. And to me, I think that's one of the preventive maintenance items that needs to be addressed. So there needs to be a video on it so that if somebody comes across it and they don't know how to do it and they have one of these bikes, hopefully by the end of this video you'll know how. I'm going to show you a few things on this bike, and then we're going to go through and we're going to change the fork oil on this one. I've already got the oil to go in it. It's a premium Honda fork oil. One thing I will say, guys, is if you're riding a motorcycle, do yourself a favor. Buy the type of fluid that goes in your bike. If you're riding in a Honda, especially a Honda Goldwing, these things last forever. They're great bikes. Do yourself a favor. Take good care of it. Put the Honda coolant in it. Use premium motorcycle oil in it. Now, I made the mistake when I first bought this bike because I didn't know. I'm used to older bikes that you could just put regular motor oil into and it not be a big deal. Because back then the transmission was separate from the engine. They were linked together, but on these bikes the transmission and engine are in one housing. So they both use the exact same oil in the engine. So do yourself a favor, do your bike a favor, use good quality motorcycle oil. Because I found out that the oil actually lubricates not only the engine, but the transmission too. Alright, now one of the things we're going to do here, I'm going to show you what you need to look for and how to go about getting to everything. One of the things I've done is I've already got the bike on its center stand. I've got a screwed car jack, came out of my old 94 Plymouth Voyager actually. I've got it underneath the engine to lift the front end up just high enough to get the weight of the bike off the front wheel. Because even with it on its center stand, there's no weight on the rear wheel when it's on its center stand. But you want to take the weight off the front wheel. Best way to do that on a Goldwing is put it on its center stand, jack up the front end just a little bit. Maybe 1/4 of an inch, ½ inch at most. Just enough to get the weight off the wheel, where you can spin the wheel freely and move the front end side to side with little to no friction, no problems. Okay, so let me show you this and then we'll move on. Now, the first thing you want to look for, and it may be different on each bike, and a lot of people will tell you you have to remove all these plastics and all this stuff in here, but you don't have to do that. Some bikes, like mine, have a Schrader valve on the top of each fork. There's one here and there's one on the other side as well. What you're going to do is you're going to remove this cap. You set it to the side, keep it in a safe place, and you're going to remove this Schrader valve right here. Now you're going to do the same thing on the other side, but we're going to do one side at a time for now. Show you what kind of oil we got. Alright, so here's what we got going on here. This is Honda suspension fluid. It's fork oil, SS8 10 weight, and this is exactly what goes in this bike. Now, each fork is not going to hold the full 16 fluid ounces. It just won't. It don't take that much. But you're still going to need to buy 2 bottles to have enough to do both forks. And here's why. That's why I got this book. This book here, it is a Haynes Honda Goldwing 1500, 88 through 2000, 1500cc, Owner's Workshop Manual. Best thing I've ever bought from Amazon, I'm telling you. But what you're looking for is you're looking for the oil capacity. So on mine, the fork oil capacity on a 95 and up, the left fork on an interstate is 361 cc's. On an Aspen Cajun SE, it's 372 cc's. Now that's on the left fork. Left fork is if you're sitting on the bike. This is the left side. So this side will take 377 cc's or 12.7 fluid ounces. Let me zoom in a little bit so y'all can see that good. The right fork takes 377 cc's. 372 on the left, 377 on the right. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So, got to make sure you read these good. Read those as good as you can. I'll hold it here for a moment. So your left fork on mine will take 372 cc's and 370 cc's on the right fork. Now it says it's 12.6 and 12.7 fluid ounces. Well, this is 16 fluid ounces. If I hold this thing up, I don't know if you can see them little hash marks. It's not quite at 16, but it's pretty close. It's about 4 cc's should be left in this bottle, right down here, when you do this. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get me a little tube and a little funnel. I'm going to pull those Schrader valves out. That's up there. Hook that tube to the Schrader valve with a little funnel on the end. I'm going to hold the funnel up, and we're just going to pour this in a little at a time, allowing the air to escape until I get down to the 4 ounce mark. Now you can go by the milliliters side if you wanted to, but considering the book's calling for cc's or ounces, 372 on the left, 377 on the right. So that's what we're going to do. Alright guys, here we go. Let me turn this light on here so we can see what we're doing. Today's the next day. I had to wait a little bit because today it's supposed to be pouring down rain. So what I had to do is put my bike here in my little portable garage, which is nothing more than a 10-foot box truck. But if it does start pouring down rain, at least I know I'll stay dry. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to jack this thing back up. There's the tool I needed. I went and bought this. Hopefully you can see the end on that. And what this does, it's going to pull the core out of that Schrader valve so we can get the oil in it when we're done here. Y'all gonna sit here and watch me do this in real time here. Get this set down. Okay. Like I said, all I'm using is just a standard automotive scissor jack. So we're gonna get this under here. Get it right under the engine there. And I've already got it on its center stand. Get this started. And like I said, we only need to pick up just enough so that the wheel is off the ground. That's plenty. That's more than enough. There. Now you see the wheel's off the ground. I can spin the wheel freely. I can move this from side to side real easy. So that's all we need. Now, yeah. I'll get back up here. And what we're gonna do, I'm gonna pull this cap here off. I'm gonna set it where I know I can find it again. Put it right there. Take the shredder valve core tool. And the back is, you can hear the air escaping. Apparently I didn't get it twisted all the way out, so there it is. Okay. Inspect that real quick, make sure it's okay. Looks like it's alright. Could use a new one. May end up replacing this on both sides later on. For now, we'll just set it right there. We'll go over here to the other side. And we'll do the same thing here. Pull this cap off. And pull this core out. Sounded like it had a little more air in it. Okay. Yeah, they could definitely use to be replaced. I don't think they're bad, since they were holding air pressure. But definitely have your bike, when you do this, have the front end jacked up, have the weight of the bike off the front wheel. I mean, it's not like the springs ain't gonna hold it, but you know, you don't want to be fighting with this type of stuff. Alright, next thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna go get the other tripod. But the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna pull this side of this front wheel apart, and I'm gonna set you guys up out here where you can see it. So I'll be right back. Okay. Get you guys set up on the tripod. You'll be behind me, kind of looking over my shoulder as I do this. I'll try to stay out of the way of the camera if at all possible. A little stool here with my tools in it. Okay. First thing we got to do, pull this back cover off. But one grommet there holds that in place. And we got 3 8mm bolts. Pull this side loose. Loosen them up. Now this upper one right here, this also holds your brake cables. It acts as a grounding point for my ring of fire. Make sure that you keep these bolts where you can find them easily. They are specialty bolts. And whatever you do, don't lose this little bracket, because you'll need this to go back on there to hold your brake cables, hold everything in place. They go on there just like that right there. And this is labeled L for the left side. I'm going to stick its bolt back in there and just set that over here on the side. Now that we got that out, I'm going to grab a small extension here. Make my job just a hair bit easier. I could use a deep well, I guess, but a little short extension does just as good. Just enough so I can grip it. Back these bottom two out. Like I said, make sure you keep a hold of these and watch out for these little grommets, these little spacers. They'll come out with it. Now if yours doesn't have the side covers, you can skip this part, but mine does. I'm sure a lot of other people's has it as well. You may not have the ring of fire, but a lot of them do have this side cover. So I'm going to go ahead and have this in here for those of us that do have it, so we can do this. Alright, now pull this off, pull it out a little bit, give it a little tight snug pull, and this has got the wires still attached in here. And the only way for me to be able to disconnect that, because of the way the guy connected them, I believe. Wait, hold it. You got it taped to the brake line. There we go. That way I can unplug this, and I can set this cover to the side. I need to wash some of that brake dust out of there while I got it off of there. Alright, there's the left side. There's a little bracket down here. And what you're looking for, there's a bolt right in here, and I'll bring you around here and show this to you. There's a bolt right over here that you will pull out to drain the fork oil. So we're going to drain this one. I gotta get my pan, but before I go get my pan, I'm going to show you guys what we're looking at here. Now, look up under here. This thing to focus. This bolt right here is your drain. So we'll pull that out and we'll drain this out, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. And we'll go from there. Let me go grab a drain pan and then we'll start that. I'm back, I got my drain pan. This bolt down here that I was showing you guys looks like a little 8mm. Maybe a little bit bigger. Yeah, it's going to be bigger. Maybe a 10. Let's find the 10. No, it's going to be smaller than a 10. I can look at that and tell that. So we'll go down to a 9. I may be wrong. Nope, it is a 10. It is a 10. I'm not real good with the metric system. I'm used to the standard ½ inch, ¼ inch, American measurements. So metric kind of throws me off a little. I'm just going to break that loose so it can be spun off by hand. And what we're going to do, the reason you want to be able to do this with the weight off the motorcycle is, one, you want these forks fully extended so the wheel's down as far as it'll go. And then two, you want to be able to move the wheel so that you can put the pan underneath it to catch the fluid as it drains out. I'm going to pull this plug right here. And oh yeah, that fluid was definitely bad. That fork oil, I mean, it's bad. This has been needing to be done for a while. We're going to let this side drain. Let's see if I can turn this pan around without spilling any more of it, so that can drain down in there. And we're going to let this drain for a little while, and then we'll come back and we'll do the same thing on the other side. Make sure you don't lose this little bolt. It does have a little crush washer on it. The washer looks fine, doesn't look damaged, doesn't look cracked. I think it'll be okay to reuse. We're going to set that right over here with the others on this side. Let this continue to drain out until it's empty. And we'll go to the other side and do the same thing. Alright guys, waited for the other side to drain. It's still kind of dripping over there. I went ahead and took all this apart over here, got the side cover off, got everything unplugged. I went ahead and inspected my brakes on both sides. Since I already got the cover off here, I figure I might as well. You know, what's it gonna hurt to go ahead and check them? So, like I said, I've already got everything loosened up. I've got the bolt down here loose. You can see it's already starting to try and drain out a little. I've just got it finger tight right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to step over here to the other side and put that bolt over there back in so I don't get oil all over my wheel. And I'm going to move the oil pan over here. Reach up under here. See if I can feel where that goes here. Turn this way a little bit. Let's see what I'm doing. And be real careful when you're threading these in. Make sure you start them by hand. Yeah, there's probably a little dog crap on that wheel, but it'll be alright. That's what they make soap and water for. Alright. We're going to do the same thing on this side. The exact same thing on the other side. Take this little side plate off. You'll take the cover here. If you got the ring of fire, it'll be attached to the cover. Make sure you unplug everything. Take it off, set it to the side. Make sure you keep everything from the side of the bike on this side. Remember the little bracket over here is the right side, the little bracket over there is the left side. They'll have L and R on them. And just like the other side, turn your wheel, take the little drain plug out, and just let it drain. We're going to reach under here, take this out of here. And we're just going to let that drain. Make sure you inspect your little crush washer. Make sure it's not cracked or broken or, you know, crushed to a point where it can't be reused. If it is, you'll need to replace that. Take that bolt off the side, and we'll let this side drain. I'm gonna go get my grease rag. Look at the oil that come out of these forks. That oil is nasty. It has been needing to be done for quite a while. Now we're going to let this thing sit here and drain for a little while. I'll have to get some oil dry to put down on the floor because I did have a little drip on the floor. But I'm going to go grab me a grease rag so I can get some of this oil off my hands. Look at that. How dirty that fork oil is. That's been needing to be done for a long time. Alright, be right back. Alright guys. Now that I've got all that drained out, put this cap back on this side here. So make sure you're very careful. Thread these in by hand first. Run them down until you get them finger tight. And then take your ratchet and put on there and just kind of snug them up. They don't have to be real tight. They just need to be snug. Alright, that's done. Now, before I'm finished here, I'm going to go ahead and put all of this back together on both sides, and then we'll go up top and we'll go ahead and start putting the new fork oil in. Alright guys, got the front end put back together, getting ready to put the fork oil in. There's the fork oil. And what I've done, and what you're going to need, now if you have to take the caps off, you might be able to use a funnel to just pour this stuff right in. But since I've got the little Schrader valves, I just got a little syringe. It's got the little nipple on the end of it. Hope you guys can see that. It's a 12 milliliter syringe. Okay. One thing to remember is 1 cubic centimeter, or 1 cc, equals 1 milliliter. Okay. I've determined it's going to take about 32 of these for this fork over here. And once we get the oil in there on both sides and we get the Schrader valves back in, then we can worry about putting the air pressure back in it. No more than 6 psi. But I'm going to have to do this, because this would be a pain to try and get this fluid out of here using just this. So I got me a little piece of tin. It don't have no holes or anything in it. I've cleaned it out so it's not dirty. I'm just going to pour the oil straight into this and then suck it up into the syringe. I'm going to pull the cap off. I've got me a little light sitting over here. I'm actually going to try to move that a little bit so that I can see, but it's not in the way. And we're just going to pour this right into the little tin. Whoop, too much, shit. Let's get some of that out of there. I have to get me a rag to get that up. Okay, so now I've got 31 and a half on this side. I know I said 32, but it came out to like 31.4 something. Put a little bit extra in there, just a very tiny bit. Now I gotta find my little Schrader valve tool. Should be sitting right here close somewhere. Put these back in here and move my hat. Maybe sitting underneath the helmet. Nope. What did I do with it? I know I didn't stick it in my pocket. I swear I lose things so easily. I would lose my own brain if it wasn't permanently attached. I swore I set that back right here. I remember to get a rag and wipe that up. I spilled a little bit on the first pour. That's why I used a little bit more out of the bottle than what I initially said. But that's not a big deal. I bet you that sucker fell on the floor somewhere. I'm going to find that Schrader valve tool and then I'll be right back. Okay, I found it. It was hiding behind some other tools. My little camera light's starting to die. We're going to go ahead and take this valve here, drop it back down in there. Now when you put these in, you just need to snug them. They ain't got to be real tight. They just need to be snug. Now that I got that, now I'm going to stick this little thing right here so I don't lose it again. I'm going to clean out this little area right here around the Schrader valve. Get most of that out of there. Now when you take, actually let's leave that cap off for a minute because we still got to air it up. And we're going to move the handlebars. I'm going to move this up here. And we're going to make our way to the other side. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of room in this truck. So I don't have a choice but to kind of walk around because it was supposed to rain. Hasn't done anything yet, but it was supposed to. Let's see if that'll sit right there. Oh yeah, perfect. Let's see if I can get you guys a little bit closer over here. That's a little bit better. I don't have to zoom in quite as much. Now you can see the little Schrader valve right here. I'm going to be pouring the oil in here just like I was. And then I'm going to go and suck it out with the syringe and put it in through the Schrader valve. Okay, so now I've got the fluid back in there on that fork. Now you got to remember when you're filling these things up, however many cc's of fluid you put in, that many cc's of air is going to come back out. I'm going to pour the excess I've got here back into the bottle. Okay, set that down in the pan, let it drain. Put this cap back on here so what I have left over in the bottle I can always use later on. Now one of the things we got to do is put this Schrader valve back in. And like I said, it doesn't need to be in there real tight. You just need to snug it in place. Now, we are ready to put air in. Or better yet, I'll go get an air tank and I'll fill it up. And then I can just give it a quick little spurt of air and check the pressure. So let me go get the air tank, fill it up, and an air chuck, and I'll be right back. Alright guys, I've got my air line here. I got it sitting right here. Turn on my little gauge. I got it set for PSI. And all we're going to do, I'm going to take the air and just give it a little spritz of air. Not much. And then we're going to check it. It's at 5 PSI right there. So that side's good. Like I said, it don't take very much at all. It went up to like 37 PSI, just that two little spritz of air. Because I've got the tank built up to 100 pounds per square inch. Now we're going to take the air line and we're going to go to the other side. And we're going to do the same thing over here. A little quick spritz of air. That's all it takes. And we're going to check it. It's at 17. 11. 7.5. 6.5. 6. 5. Now this other side was at 5. What did I say? 5.5. Let's check this side again. Okay, it's at 5 as well. Now both sides are at 5 psi. It's 1 pound below the max. So we're just going to put these caps back on. A little bit of air, a little extra air pressure. It's not going to blow your seals or anything, but you want to leak it back down to the max, which on this one is 6 psi or below. When I bought this motorcycle, it was at like 3 on one side and 2 on the other. Apparently the guy didn't know enough to know how to air it up. It don't take much. You can actually use like a little bicycle pump, one of the little bitty bicycle pumps that you can get. You know, to go on a bicycle, that they work good. Might have to get me a rag, wipe all this down, get all this oil off here. Now let me turn the camera around here so you can see me, and then we'll talk. Okay, so what we've done here is we've drained all the fork oil, the old fork oil, which was nasty. It needed to be done very badly. And we've put fresh fork oil in. This is Honda suspension oil right here. You can look at that. Suspension fluid. It's Pro Honda SSA. This is 10 weight. That's what the bike calls for. So that's what we put back in. We put the right amount in. May have just a little bit extra on either side. That's not too big of a deal, as long as the system functions like it's supposed to. I'm gonna let it sit overnight and let all that fluid drain down into the bottom of the suspension like it's supposed to, and then I'll pull it off the jack and I'll bounce it up and down a couple times, make sure it's working like it's supposed to. And then I may take it for a ride tomorrow. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to go ahead and get this done tonight. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll try to answer them as best I can. Like I said, I do have the book for this bike. This is a 96 model, but the book that I've got, and you can find these on Amazon. Again, it's a Haynes number 2225 Honda Goldwing 1500 for a 1988 through 2000 1500 cc. You can get these on Amazon. They're not very expensive. I recommend having one of these manuals, whether it be for a motorcycle or for your car. If you can find one of these manuals, get one. Especially one for a car or truck, because they are a complete tear down and rebuild guide. They do have pictures in them to kind of help you find locations of different components, things of that nature. Because some components, like the blinkers on this thing, the blinker relays, they're kind of difficult to get to, and if you don't really know where they're at, it'll help you find them. They are actually underneath the trunk over here, but there's a lot easier way to get to them by taking and loosening both sides of your saddlebags on the rear end and pulling the center fender out. You can get to the relays from under there. You will have to pull this lower cover off, but you know, that's a whole nother video. I'm going to end up having to do that at some point, because I'm going to put LED specific relays for the blinkers in this thing. Right now they're running on load cells. The whole bike runs on LEDs. All the lights in it are LEDs except for the curb lights or the cornering lights. They're still running on incandescent, but I'm going to be switching them over to LED too. Just as soon as I can either find some bulbs for it, or I'm going to make a thing for it, or I may just buy a whole new light kit for it. I haven't decided yet. But for now, that's all I got. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call, or not a call, but send me a message, and if I can, I'll answer any questions I can. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.